Thank you all for being here. Those I haven't met, I'm Doris Carson-Williams, President and Chief Executive Officer of the African American Chamber of Commerce here in Western Pennsylvania, and our mission is to continuously improve business opportunities for African American business owners and professionals and all small businesses. As you can tell by our audience, we are very diverse throughout our region. We have a number of announcements that we'll be making today, but before we do, what was the term you just gave? Oh, I can turn you loose. I want to turn loose our speaker for the morning, who we're delighted to have. And I just learned an interesting, impressive tidbit about Cain Hayes that I'll share with you. But he's the president and CEO of Gateway Health, having joined the organization in the late 2018. He leads the strategy and day-to-day operations of one of the nation's leading managed care organizations that services over 500,000 Medicaid and Medicare members. Cain is the third African American CEO in the country to head this kind of an initiative. Previously, Cain Hayes served as president and COO of health business for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Minnesota, with full operating and financial responsibilities for the company's commercial markets, government markets, provider relations, network management, care management, clinical innovation, pharmacy, service operations, and marketing. How's that? He also served as president of Aetna's National Markets Division, where he had full financial and operating responsibility for the $9.1 billion business. Administration from Drake University, a master's degree from Webster University, and in addition, earned his Certified Employee Benefits Specialist designation from the Wharton School, University of Pennsylvania. He is a chamber member, and we're delighted to have him here, so join me in welcoming Cain Hayes.
Well, thank you so much, Doris. Really appreciate that kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me to speak at this Power Breakfast meeting. I am indeed a proud Presidential Roundtable member of the African American Chamber of Commerce, and just really thrilled to be here. And I also just want to thank Doris for the warm welcome back to Pittsburgh and helping me get acclimated to the city. By the way, I have to say I had the opportunity to participate in the African American Chamber of Commerce golf clinic several months ago. And my golf game improved dramatically after participating. I've gotten my score down to a 60. That's just on the front nine. Working on the back. This shows you how bad I was. But it truly, and Sam knows that, he's seen me play. So it truly is an honor, to be here. I'm looking forward to the discussion today. As I look around, I certainly see many of my old friends. I've been the CEO of Gateway Health for just about 10 months now. But for those of you that know me, know that this is actually my second boomerang, if there is such a thing, back to Pittsburgh. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, but Pittsburgh is really what I call my adopted hometown. My first job out of college with Principal Financial Group was here in Pittsburgh in 1991. Moved to Pittsburgh, met my wife here. My wife Denise is a Pittsburgh girl, went to Peabody High School and Carlow University. We were married and moved from Pittsburgh in 1997 due to a corporate relocation. Came back to Pittsburgh in 2001, another corporate relocation. Then left again in 2006. And so now we're 13 years later back in Pittsburgh. And if you knew me then and didn't recognize me, it's because in 2006 I had a lot more hair. It's just great to be back in Pittsburgh. I'm thrilled to be the CEO of Gateway Health. Really honored and privileged to lead such a fantastic organization. I see a number of my colleagues from Gateway that are here. Today I thought I'd do just three things. One, for those of you that may not be as familiar with Gateway, just provide you with a brief background of the organization and some of the things that we're doing. Second is share with you the strategic vision that I have for Gateway in the context of the trends that are happening within the healthcare industry. And then third, I'll share with you our deep commitment to partnering with small, diverse, minority-owned businesses, and it's really a core part of who we are as an organization. And then open it up for questions, which is really what I'm looking forward to having a dialogue. First, a little bit about Gateway Health. We were formed 27 years ago in 1992. This is our 27th year of existence. And we were formed by three organizations. Gateway was founded by three organizations. The first being Trinity Health System, which is based in Detroit, Michigan. Trinity owns Mercy Health System out of southeastern Pennsylvania near Philadelphia. They're the second largest Catholic health system in the country. Second, Highmark. Of course, we all know Highmark. And then third, interestingly enough, the third founder of Gateway, founding company, was Allegheny General Hospital. And of course, Highmark ultimately ended up acquiring AGH. So today, Gateway Health is 50% owned by Trinity Health and 50% owned by Highmark. From day one, going back 27 years ago, our mission has been very clear. Our mission has been to serve and help improve the health of at-risk, vulnerable, underserved populations. 100% of our customers at Gateway, what we call members, are on some form of medical assistance. And we serve over 330,000 people in Pennsylvania, making Gateway Health the third largest Medicaid organization in the state of Pennsylvania. And we serve within that 48,000 Medicare members that are dually eligible for both Medicaid and Medicare. There's a segment of the population that qualifies for both Medicaid and Medicare. And that 48,000 actually makes us number one in the state of Pennsylvania in terms of Medicare duals. We're the fifth largest privately held company in Western Pennsylvania as measured by annual revenue. We have close to $3 billion in annual revenue, and we have close to 2,000 associates or employees here, with the vast majority being in Pennsylvania. We're proud of the fact that Gateway Health contributes over $10 billion of positive economic impact to the state of Pennsylvania. And of course, that's a message I carry quite often to Harrisburg as I was going on visits there. And we're a community-based organization. As I said, we're all about ensuring that we're helping the underserved and most at-risk in our communities. And it's important for us to support the community and give back. Last year alone, Gateway Health contributed over $1 million to charitable organizations throughout Pennsylvania, and we're going to do even more than that next year. As we think about supporting the community, money is important. It's obviously important to make those financial contributions, but it's also important to offer our time and talents as well. So we're proud of the fact that Gateway associates volunteer literally thousands of hours every year of volunteer hours to nonprofit organizations that are making a positive difference in people's lives. If you've been watching the presidential debates, you know that healthcare is a hot topic. That's the understatement of the day. The healthcare industry is rapidly changing and evolving. There's no question that healthcare, just given some of the dynamics that I'll talk about, is greatly shaping and influencing the country in many ways. And interestingly enough, Pittsburgh is in a lot of ways at the center of this evolution of healthcare and technology. And it's amazing for me to see, since leaving Pittsburgh 13 years ago and coming back, how much Pittsburgh has advanced and grown from a healthcare standpoint, as well as from a technology standpoint. Right now, healthcare is a $3.4 trillion industry. $3.4 trillion industry, and it's growing. The cost is growing at a pace much faster than overall inflation. Healthcare alone represents almost 18% of the gross domestic product of the United States. And the industry is faced with two significant challenges that increase every year. Now, these challenges do create some opportunities, but the two most significant challenges are, one, improving the overall health outcomes for people. Improving the quality of the health outcomes of people is one of the top challenges. The second challenge, and this kind of ties to the $3.4 trillion, is cost. Cost is on the rise, and that's being driven by a number of factors, including drug costs, which represent $400 billion of the $3.4 trillion. So significant challenges around improving quality health outcomes and lowering costs. Now, that, of course, creates opportunity. If I were starting a business today, it would definitely be somewhere in healthcare. If I owned a business today, and I wasn't already doing some kind of work in the healthcare industry, I'd find a way to do some kind of work in the healthcare industry because there's tremendous opportunity. And I'm proud of the fact that Gateway Health is leading the efforts to shape what healthcare is looking like, certainly in this region and ultimately, I think, nationally. Historically, health insurance companies have been very reactive, paying claims, doing administrative services, sending out your ID cards, answering calls, when people come in, filling prescriptions. All those administrative functions are important, but it's just no longer good enough. It's much more is required, just given the challenges that I talked about. And the strategic vision that I have for Gateway Health is that Gateway Health be recognized as a national leader in what I call total health. So what is total health? Total health is about treating the whole person. I spent the first 20 years of my career in financial services. Doris and I were just talking about that. My first stint in first and second stint in Pittsburgh, I wasn't even in healthcare. I was in financial services. And based on that experience combined with this experience I've had in healthcare, I have a fundamental belief that in order for a person to achieve true health, you have to have not only physical health, which is obviously important, but also mental health, and then also social and economic health are critically important. And in my view, all three of those, physical health, mental health, and financial and social and economic health, which are I kind of think about as one, are inextricably linked. We have to have, and so that's the essence of total health as I think about it. The Pew Foundation did some research 5 years ago that was groundbreaking. That sort of supports this notion of total health. And what they, in the research, what they found is that they looked at the health outcomes of people, particularly in the United States. And what they found is that if you think about your health as a pie, so to speak, there's just one small slice of that pie that comes from the care that you receive in a clinical setting. So just 20% of your health outcomes comes from the care you receive in a clinical setting, going to the doctor, going to the hospital for treatment. Most people, when they think about their health or health outcomes, they assume that access to that type of quality care ultimately determines the vast majority of your health. It's actually a small percentage of the overall health outcomes. An important piece when you need it, but only 20%. The other 80% of all of our health outcomes, they found, are tied to non-clinical factors. 20% is genetics, but the other 60% are what the industry now calls social determinants of health. Things like access to quality food, so food stability, access to quality housing, access to employment, which I would argue is one of the most significant social determinants, meaningful, stable employment and financial viability. Transportation, the ability to get to and from your doctor's appointment. Language barriers, which we see more prevalent in certain parts of the country, perhaps more so than others. But these are the social determinants that actually determine or influence more of your health outcomes than what you receive in the clinical setting. And I think the challenge that the industry has had over the years is that the industry has focused more on health care, which is the 20%, and not as much on health, which is the other 80%. And we're proud of the fact at Gateway that we have nearly 3 decades of a proud history of treating or helping people achieve not only that physical health, but a more holistic approach, helping people achieve overall health outcomes. And if you think about those social determinants that I just talked about, they more greatly influence the Medicaid and the Medicare dual eligible population, the more underserved and at-risk population. So again, it's core to what we do. And we've done some good work over the years in this area. 15 years ago, we developed what we call the Community Resource Connection. It's an intricate database that connects our members who call in with some of these social service needs to over 3,000 community-based agencies throughout Pennsylvania that provide them with the help and support that they need. So whether someone calls in with food issues, connecting them with the food bank, connecting them, with with food pantries and so forth. Housing, we've hired a full-time housing coordinator to help members get stable housing. Transportation, helping our members get to and from, connecting them with transportation organizations, services to get to and from doctor's appointments. And employment. A few years ago, we formed a partnership with the A. Philip Randolph organization, who trains people and provides them with skills in the trades to get meaningful employment. And so those are the kind of services that we're connecting our members to, because as you think about those social determinants, there's no one organization in the country that can solve that themselves. It takes a collective collaboration across multiple areas, whether it's health systems, payers, and other agencies. So that's some of the work that we've done. Ultimately, our goal is to help people become self-reliant, however they define self-reliant. So do everything that we can to help people lift out of tough circumstances to live their best life. And certainly we're proud to help people on that journey to total health. So I'll wrap up my comments sharing Gateway's commitment to partnering with small, diverse, minority-owned businesses. Gateway spends literally tens of millions of dollars every year with small, diverse, minority-owned businesses. Again, it's core to what we do as an organization. Today, we work with over 50 different small, diverse, minority-owned businesses. And if you look at our organization, you see these businesses represented in every critical aspect of our business, whether it's staffing, whether it's clinical services, IT, operations, just across a wide spectrum of the core marketing, core areas within consulting. We believe it's essential to not just our past business strategy, our current business strategy, and our future business strategy. It's critical to our success as an organization, because as everyone in this room knows, it's not just a good thing to do, it's a smart thing to do from a business standpoint, to do business with people that are representative of the members that we serve, to get unique perspectives and ideas on how to improve overall health outcomes. So we're proud of the fact that Gateway is what I would consider to be on the higher end of the spectrum as it relates to partnering with small, diverse, minority-owned businesses. But the fact is we can always do more. And so, we welcome the continued dialogue, and we welcome, certainly idea sharing and exploring ways that we can expand, opportunities with, minority suppliers. The bottom line is it goes back to this notion of total health that I talked about, and the importance of economic viability to overall health. And at Gateway, we believe it starts with our own associates, our own employees, providing good jobs, quality employment, but it also comes from supporting small, diverse, minority-owned businesses who are also providing good jobs in our community. So with that, I'll open it up for questions and really would love to have a dialogue on any topic you'd like to talk about.
Well, thank you. That was more brief than I expected, but I appreciate it because that's a nice segue for the chamber. One of the things that we do, Cain, is meet with different companies, and we have, and I'll be talking about some today, how to do business workshops. We invite Gateway to have one for us, where we bring in our members and you explain the protocol for how to do business with Gateway for those that are interested here in the room that may not have had the opportunity to do that. So that's
More than
timely.
welcome, more than happy.
That's timely though. Questions?
Yes.
This election season, there are a lot of healthcare plans that have been put out there. Is there any plan that Gateway likes more than the other?
I'm so glad you asked that question. That's why I wanted to leave time for questions. So you know, what's the one thing you hear about in these debates? What's the tagline you hear? Medicare for all, right? So let me kind of take you through the numbers and the facts around, you know, kind of Medicare for all. And this is not, regardless of what side, whether you support it or whether you think it's the best thing you ever heard or the dumbest idea you ever heard. I'll just share with you the facts. There's 330 million people in the United States. 180 million people get their health care benefits through their employer. And surveys that are done in kind of talking to these folks are generally happy with the benefits that they receive, you know, through their employers. There's another 120 million people that receive their health care already through the government, through Medicaid and Medicare. Okay. So then that leaves about 30 million people. Of the 30 million people, half of those people, so 15 million, or actually qualifies for some federal subsidy, either through the exchanges that you can buy on the individual market, or they have coverage offered to them through their employer and they just decline it for some reason, religious reasons or whatever. So then that leaves about 15 million people. And so the challenge, you know, what folks would say is that the challenge with a Medicare for all approach is that you're essentially disrupting, and I already told you it's a $3.4 trillion industry. You're disrupting a $3.4 trillion industry to create a solution for, you know, less than 10% of the population. So we believe, and 15 million is too many people in our view. So Gateway's point of view is that everyone needs to have health care coverage. So we're supportive of universal coverage. But the way we get to that coverage is where we have to be very careful not to disrupt the entire, you know, ecosystem. So, you know, healthcare has adapted over the years to many different variations of laws and regulations that have been, you know, put forth. And regardless of what kind of comes down the pipe, you know, we'll adapt. But I would tell you that that's just kind of how the math works, and it would be extremely difficult to get support from the vast majority of people in this country that would have their, you know, health care disrupted as a result of the reforms. But I always, you know, I enjoy listening. And I'll just share this quick story related to this. I was in, I won't say which state, but I was in a state and I was in an audience, and there was a gubernatorial candidate in this particular state. This was a couple of years ago, who was saying Medicare for all, Medicare for all, and I went up to him afterwards. I didn't, you know, want to, you know, ask the question in front of everybody. I wanted to talk to him one-on-one, and this person, and I said, you know, Medicare for all. I said, have your policy folks kind of explained to you how healthcare works and the number of folks and how the kind of math works? He goes, yeah, you know, I have a general understanding of that. He said, but tell me your point of view. So I kind of walked him through that same math that I just went through. And I said, so you understand that the Medicare for all, you'd be shifting trillions of dollars to the federal government, and there'd be quite a few people that were unhappy. And he looked at me with this kind of blank stare, and he said, you know, I thank you for the information, just turned around and walked away. And then the next time I saw him speak, Medicare for all. So it's a great campaign slogan, but it's just hard to, it's a campaign slogan. And he wasn't going to take it, yes.
You're talking about 100% healthcare and 20% being clinical, 80% not being clinical, and Gateway working on that 80%. So I have a three-part question.
Sure.
So can you, number one, how much does that cost? Number two, how difficult was it for Gateway Health to develop that, and who else is doing it?
Well, we spend, and this is a general rule, but roughly 90 cents of every dollar is spent on healthcare. As you think about and that's really the 20%, but the 80%, as you can imagine, greatly influences the cost of that that 20%. So as a country, the cost tied to just those social determinants is $250 billion. And as I said before, Gateway's approach, which I think is the right strategy, is to partner and collaborate with multiple organizations and not try to solve that ourselves. So we operate on, and it's no secret, in our business, extremely thin margins. So in the Medicaid, Medicare dual space, it's a 1 to 3%, kind of margin business, 1 to 3%. And so most of the premiums and the revenue that come in go out to provide, care. But it's hard to quantify, again, all the solutions that we're bringing forth in those other areas because there's so many different organizations that we provide support to. So that's some of the math works. Other questions?
Someone else have a question?
Knowing the great work that Gateway does, is Gateway interested or thinking about or interested in the idea of going into a commercial product?
Yeah, and this goes back to, it's all these are excellent questions. So you'll recall I said that from day one, our mission has been clear. It's to serve the vulnerable, at-risk populations. The reason I came to Gateway, because I worked for, as I mentioned, the first, 2/3 of my career were in financial services. And then of the time I've been in healthcare for the last 10 years, 90% of that time has been on the commercial side. So doing Medicare and Medicaid is a portion of the responsibility I had. And just made a decision that I wanted to join an organization that had a sole focus, almost a maniacal focus, on supporting this segment of the population, because I believe this is where we can have the greatest impact in terms of moving the needle, particularly as it relates to some of these social determinants. So we have zero plans at Gateway to enter into the commercial markets, and I would dare to say, as long as I'm CEO, that wouldn't happen.
One last question, Barry?
Yeah, hi, Barry Nathan from Concierge Pittsburgh.
Yes.
This is not a question about this. I want to talk a little bit, or ask you a question related to autism, and particularly autism in the African American community. As you're probably aware, it's highly underdiagnosed and misdiagnosed and all sorts of other things. If there's an organization that is interested in approaching you for support, called Autism Urban Connections, how would they do that? And then also, is there some operation within you that focuses on research in the African American community on individuals with autism?
First of all, the first answer to your question is absolutely. We'd be interested in having a conversation, and we've got the Gateway team here, and you can even give me the information. I think I'll make sure you have my card, but definitely connect you there. We do have a clinical innovation area within Gateway that sits in an area that we call health services that does focus on specific issues within the African American community, and really, because the African American community, of course, is an important component of the overall communities we serve throughout Pennsylvania and other states. And so we're constantly looking at innovation and ways to address issues, whether it's autism certainly being one of those. So the answer is yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure, no
Is
more.
one more?
I'm happy to, I mean, you're the boss.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know what I'd like for you to do, if you don't mind? From talking to people preparing for today, define the difference between Medicare and Medicaid.
Okay.
I think that would be helpful for everybody.
That's great. So when people refer to government programs or entitlement programs, really what they're talking about is Medicaid and Medicare. Medicaid came about years ago, decades ago, because there were a large segment of the population that were at the poverty level that did not have health care. And so laws were passed to provide coverage for folks at the poverty level. And really, when Medicaid started, it was really to provide support mainly for moms and babies, making sure that moms and babies were taken care of. And so that's so Medicare today, and we've seen Medicare coverage expand as a result of the Affordable Care Act, is really for people that are at 133% of the poverty line in this country and below. Okay, so that's really what Medicaid, is designed to do. Medicare, if you go to the other end of the spectrum, from moms and babies to seniors, is to provide coverage for people that are over the age of 65. So again, as we think about making sure that segments of the population that are potentially more vulnerable than others have health care. And that's part of the reason why there's this debate and dialogue about Medicare for all, because once you turn 65 in this country, you have a right to health care through Medicare. And so, the argument is that that should be true for everyone. And I agree with that notion, just how we, kind of get to that, I think is what's important. So those are the, and then I would just, because this is a topic that I'd love to talk about, of the 3.4 trillion in healthcare spend in the country, 1 trillion of that is actually Medicare and Medicaid. 1 trillion. And so about 600 billion is Medicaid, and about 400 billion the government's already paying in Medicare. So those are the two differences.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
It's always good to have you. I could have let him talk a lot longer, but I appreciate your comments because they've been helpful to us. Let me first thank those of you who attended our networking mixer and how to do business session over at Community College with Dr. Quentin Bullock. Thank you, Dr. Bullock. That was great. That was great. They didn't ask you a lot of questions, but they called us the next day to ask questions like we were you. So we know that you were effective in what you do. September the 11th, some of you were there, was the kickoff for our Alzheimer's Dementia Workshop Series. It was heartwarming, just heartwarming. We are in partnership with the University of Pittsburgh to do a series of workshops on dementia and Alzheimer's. Our workshop was on the South Side, and we began it with Dr. Jeanette Southpaw, who many of you know, who just talked about healthcare and what happens when you go to your doctors. But our steering committee, consisting of Dr. David Webster at Highmark, Dr. Keisha Ward from UPMC, Deb Kaplan, who is a retired healthcare executive, Melita Terry, who runs the Alzheimer's Center. We worked together, and the steering committee designed the program, and then we have a planning committee that rolled out the contents. We had over 60 people there. We appreciate those of you that were there. There were a lot of good questions. We give out literature, and we are getting ready now. We've had our steering committee's second meeting to roll out our program for January. So stay tuned. Many of you have relatives, spouses, and friends that are in the early stages of this terrible disease. Come learn more about it. See where you can help and fit in, but more importantly, where the resources are that are available to you to help. I want you to know that the app is ready for your iPhone. cell phone, whatever kind of phone you have, I said that. And Sean has been loading in all of the emails. So that way you can gain access to getting things like our newsletter, events, upcoming events and things that are happening. You can now do that on your iPhone. And we thank Coriac for their work with helping us, in addition to expanding minds. Phil Green, he's just awesome. The two of them together working with us, it's made a difference. So coming, and Sean, you're about halfway through? One more page left, okay, that's good. I think some of you had the opportunity to meet him, but Dan, stand for a moment. Dan Taylor is our new Executive Vice President with the Chamber that came on in September, and I can't remember that phrase you used, but he hit the ground running. And he is making a difference with us. We're just very grateful to have him on board. He had recently retired, as many as you know, from PNC, Senior Vice President running all the branches. Didn't like retirement, and so we just swooped him up and got him with us, and we appreciate having him here. There's a number of new members that have joined us, and if you're present, please stand as I call your name and the name of your company. Clearview Cloud Solutions, Maria Phelps, James Cohen, Yinzer in the Berg. Now, all of you know where Yinzer in the Berg is because all of you have some kind of steel or regalia. You buy it down in the strip, that's who that is. So they are now a member. Jamie Young, Jamie's Physical Therapy. Our associate member, Andrew Swenson, the Chamber Orchestra of Pittsburgh, and we may have a big surprise for you for November, so stay tuned with that. That's going to be a nice addition. Our supporting member is John DeMarco, Ranker Corporation, or also known as Urban Tap. So they're with us. Nathan Grishel, George Junior Republican, up in Grove City, which is nice. Rich Fiskus, S&T Bank, their corporate sponsor, and Cameron Champion, Satira LLC, are with us. Upcoming events are on the table, and if you look at all the paper, and we're trying to reduce the amount of paper we give you because we email it. We're in the saving trees, but I have to make sure that you know what's happening. Let me start with this coming Tuesday. There will be a How to Do Business workshop with E-Trans Midstream. That's the spin-off company from EQT. They have a workshop set up. Those of you that are interested in doing business with them, please sign up. We've got to get a food count by this afternoon, so let us know if you plan to attend. Thanks to Citizens Bank, we have a members mixer on the 23rd. Scott Brown always likes to do one in the fall, so we're living up to his tradition, and we look forward to having you there with us. We have a special breakfast meeting that we're planning for the new president of U.S. Steel, David Brett, who will be our speaker in May for our annual meeting. In meeting with him and talking with him, he's so interested in doing some things out in the Mon Valley. He wants to improve the conditions out there. He wants to do more with small business. I said, well, why don't you come meet with our members? We'll set up a special breakfast. You come meet with our members and share that. So he is doing that on November 5th. Please sign up. We've got a How to Do Business workshop with First Commonwealth Bank that'll be on the 12th of November. You know how we try and shy away from November? November's feel just like all the other months now. But this is going to be a good workshop. They have met with us. It's going to be held in the Union Trust Building. They're already setting up for it. Google promised from our last workshop that we had to come back. They will be here. They are coming back in December so that you have time to get through all the other programs and activities going on. And this is going to be how to use data to drive your business growth. They had an excellent workshop with us. The first time, we had over 65 people in attendance. I encourage you to sign up for that, and I think you'll like Randy and her team that'll be coming in. Every year, the Chamber has a holiday celebration, holiday season celebration. And this year, we are having our celebration, which is for members only. So a member can come and bring a partner or a guest. But this invitation is going to our members, and we're having it on November 7th at Point Park University's Pittsburgh Playhouse. They have a series that is going on, and we are going to be part of their series, Much Ado About Nothing. And I think it's a play that you will enjoy. You have to RSVP and let us know if you're coming. We want to make sure we're prepared for you. I think you'll enjoy it. But that will be our holiday celebration, which is a little earlier than we normally do, but we're trying to make sure we fit everything in. And finally, you got to come to this next year with us. Every 2 years, the Chamber hosts a program abroad. Next year, we're going to southern Portugal and southern Spain. So I'm putting them out now a year in advance, but you have up until March to get a discount. Please join us. We had over 25 people go with us to Greece last year. It was fun. But I encourage you to take part in this. Thank you again, Cain Hayes. You're the best. You're the best. We appreciate you. Thank you all for coming, and have a nice weekend.